Hey guys, Mason here. Going to install the Top Gun 7.4 kg per millimeter rear coil spring on the KLR today. Let's have a look at this. So hey guys, after the test ride with the bike with all my gear on it, it really, was pushing the suspension to its limit. I'm not a small guy. I'm almost 6 feet tall and 210 pounds. So as you can see, I already ran my OEM rear spring at its maximum compression setting. And that was really just with myself and a tank bag and some tools on it. So when I add the extra weight of another passenger, or like I did the other day with Mrs. Mason into town for dinner, or when I pack up for a camping trip like I'm doing right now, it really is getting squishy. Does it do it? Yes, it does actually, and it's not awful, but it can be better. And I think that this going to a slightly heavier rear coil spring is going to be the solution. Now, you have three options when it comes to this Top Gun rear coil over, and this is the middle of the road one. The lightest one I don't think would make enough difference, and I honestly believe that the heavy one, although it would be fantastic when fully loaded, would be too hard when I'm running empty. Ideally what I want is when I ride the bike in its light and fast trim, I would like this suspension setting at 1 or maybe 2, and then the ability to crank it up to 5 when I go riding with a passenger or when I put my gear on. So that's what I'm going to attempt to do here. So there are some great videos online. I got this through Rocky Mountain ATV, and they have a fantastic video on how to change the shock. I'll put a couple clips in here, but this certainly isn't going to be a how-to video. I just want to look at whether the 7.4 kg for a guy of my build works right in the middle of the range. So I can have the same sag that I have now on a much lower suspension setting and turn it up when I need it. So that's the goal and that's the plan, and we'll see what happens. Let's get at it. So right off the bat, the new coil is slightly higher, slightly longer than the old coil. We're gonna try out this new coil. The old spring, I was way out of the static sag on the bike, and when I was on it, the race sag was like 4.5 inches or something. Now I can set this, and that was set at preload 5. Now it's set at preload 1, and I have 3 inches of sag, which is exactly where I want to be for race sag. So this should be proper. This is my first ride on it, and we'll see how it is. Hopefully it's made a difference. And like I was saying, I still have all 4 of my preload settings to go through, and with all my gear on for the camping trip, it looks like I need to be at preload 4. I would likely just run it maxed at 5, and then of course there's the rebound to sort out. But anyway, let's give this a go and see what happens. Alright, we'll see you in a minute. Well, a couple initial impressions, I can tell you right now, it's made a massive difference to the machine. First thing is the ride height. It's sitting taller, and it doesn't squash so bad under acceleration. and it feels proper. It's not rough, but it's solid. You can tell there's some suspension underneath you now. Now this test ride is just sort of the light and fast setup on the bike, where I just have my tank bag, tools, tubes, so all 3 of these front bags, and on the back's just my Scout 25 liter with a light rain jacket and a little platypus with water in it. So I'm running as light as I ever will right here. So the other thing I did, guys, as well as change the coil, is I went to a heavier weight oil, which they suggest for a little bit higher dampening. So the original shock comes with a 5-weight shock oil, and I've gone to a 10-weight shock oil. And then, of course, because you just basically can take all your previous settings and throw them out the window when you do something like that, I just guessed at a rebound setting, and actually it feels pretty good. Now, this is the 2015 model, so it doesn't have the dial, the 4-click rebound on it. It's got the little screw head rebound, which is sort of infinite settings up until about, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 turns out. So turned right in is full rebound dampening, where the shock will hardly move. And as you turn it out, it lightens it. It allows the spring to rebound more freely. So I just guessed at 2.5 turns out with the 10-weight oil. Surprisingly, that's about where I was running it with the 5-weight oil, but it seems to complement this spring fairly well. I won't know truly how well it's working until I get into something rough. I need to see if it's going to pogo. If it pogos, I will have to turn the screw in slightly and give myself a little bit more rebound dampening. And likewise, if it's too hard, it will compress until I run out of shock. And it'll feel like it's jarring me. So I want that wheel to move and stay in contact with the ground is the goal. So somewhere right in the middle is what I'm after. Boy, I'm sitting so much higher. It actually feels like a dirt bike. So that's me on setting 1. Preload setting 1. Interesting. Which is exactly where I wanted to be. At the old spring, I ran 5 and still couldn't get it tight enough to create the race sag that I was after, which was 3 inches. Which is from the rear tire hanging on the bike on a stand, that measurement, and then the whole bike sitting on the ground and me sitting on it, it should be 3 inches lower, which works out to be roughly 30% of the 30% of the suspension's total travel distance. And with this one, on 1, I was able to hit it right on the money with this 7.4 kg per millimeter coil. And I was able to hit it right on the money at preload setting 1, so as I add gear, I've got the 4 more settings to go up through. Well guys, I'll tell you right now, I'm pretty impressed with that shock. That does everything I want it to do. And changed the bike completely. It's awesome. Highly suggest it. That's it. Thanks for watching. Mind how you go. And we'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye for now.